All right, people. Look who I got. Special guest. It's someone commented earlier. It's all right, people meets evening peeps. The
Yes.
two intros.
I don't know where that's coming from. It's like morning peeps, afternoon peeps, evening peeps. You just get used to saying a thing at the start of your videos. Like I'm always like, morning peeps, don't forget to hit the subscribe. It's a weird thing that if I don't say it, I can't start the video. It's strange. So I just get so used to saying it. But yeah, look, Gman, it's been a while, dude.
It's
It's
been
been
a
a
while.
while. Um, Obviously, I watch your videos. I love what you're doing. You watch my stuff. You jump on my lives. It's good that we're still supporting each other. But
Yeah,
yeah, looking forward to this, man. Looking forward to the next
we're
hour
looking
and a half of
forward.
just talking boxing. You know what it is?
Talking boxing.
You know why? Because we obviously do it where we just talk to ourselves. So
Mm,
and sometimes it's difficult, and sometimes you make mistakes, but you're just talking to yourself to a camera. So to have
yeah,
a
it's
conversation with
easy.
someone's always better.
It's always better, especially when it's someone who they get it. They get the sport. And as
Mm.
you said earlier, it was weird, right? This time a couple of years ago, you were still kind of doing it in your living room in your green chair. I was just starting out, not even 1,000, barely a couple of hundred.
Yeah.
And look at the two of us now. The zone, and I'm kind of freelancing it, but near enough to 10K. It's crazy what a little bit of work can do.
Yeah, honestly, it's crazy. Like this, the zone thing, and obviously doing some stuff for Talksport. I just find the whole thing mental. But I always will say this. Don't get me wrong. Being in on those DAZN shows and traveling and it's fantastic. You love it. But this is my bread and butter still. I still like this. It's difficult to kind of balance it because I'm not as brutal as I once was. Like I used to just say whatever I wanted to say,
I
and
remember.
I get jealous when I get jealous when I see you and the guys like undefeated podcast saying stuff, and I'm like, ah. But no, I still love doing my YouTube more than anything. And I've tried to say this year we're gonna really ramp up the content. I feel like I slacked a bit towards the end of last year. But this year, video after video after video.
hmm I think this year, compared to last year, we're a little bit more optimistic about big fights. I think that's
Yes.
fair to say. Last year, kind of, we had some big ones, don't get me wrong, but I think the ones that could have didn't. But I
Mm.
think this year we are likely to get it. And for me, it might not be the biggest fight commercially, right? It might not be the biggest commercially, but honestly, Fury Usyk, that fight has to happen, doesn't it? And what I saw during the week with Bob Arum saying Fury deserves the lion's share, I'm still I'm optimistic it's going to happen. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, look, there's so much going on behind the scenes with that fight. Look, they wanted to go to the Middle East. That's
Mm-hmm.
known, right? Everyone, all these boxers that pretend they want to fight in London, once the Middle East write that check, you want to go to the Middle East, unfortunately. So they wanted to go there. I think the interest from the Middle East has maybe slowed a little bit. And when they were going to go to the Middle East, it was going to be a 50-50 split.
Mm.
Usyk has 3 belts. He's known over there because of the AJ fight. Fury's known over there as well. So that kind of made sense. Now I kind of get what Bob's saying. If we're going to do it in the UK, that's Fury's backyard, then maybe Fury gets a bit more of the lion's share. Is Usyk going to accept that? Again, Usyk's got 3 belts. If I'm Usyk, I'm like, 1 second, I've got 3 belts. This is what I'm bringing to
Mm-hmm.
the table.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's not known over here. Usyk's fought over here
Four
4 times.
times,
Was it?
I
So
think.
Chisora,
Chisora,
AJ,
Bellew, AJ,
Bellew,
three.
three times. So it's not like he isn't known here. So yeah, I think they're probably gonna have to get to maybe a 60-40 split. Fury in favor, but yeah, it's gonna happen.
I agree. I think Fury is the bigger name over here. So if it was, say, 55-45, maybe 60-40, I wouldn't necessarily be turning around saying, oh, it's Fury pricing himself. But I've heard people say set as much as 70-30. Now, if that is the case, that can't happen. And
No.
I worry because Tyson Fury is a man who, let's be frank, he contradicts himself a lot. That's fair to say.
Yes.
And this is someone who, look, I'm going to call it, say it shamefully, put him versus Chisora 3 on pay per view, a record UK price. People complained, and I will say this, they complained to Adam Smith about AJ Ruiz. AJ
Mm.
Ruiz being a bit more expensive pales in comparison to Chisora versus Fury 3 being record pay per view price.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you're right. I mean, there is going to be an issue here, and if you're Usyk, you're not going to accept 70-30. You're just not going to. I mean,
You
Usyk's
shouldn't
probably
have
going to
to.
1 second. I've done back-to-back wins over AJ. And yes, AJ was the big draw in that, but those numbers from those fights are tremendous. I'm coming to the ring and I'm going to generate numbers. Obviously, it will be on pay-per-view. I'm going to generate numbers. You know, there's no fight out there you can have apart from Fury, maybe a Wilder Ford, which will do bigger numbers than Usyk, right? So if I'm Usyk, I've done enough in the game to warrant at least a 60-40 split. This can't be a 70-30. It just can't be. And it's funny with Fury because Fury will talk like, I don't care about the money, put the fight on for free. And then on one hand, it's like, well, I'm not doing it unless I'm 70-30. So look, if he wants to fight, if he wants to make this undisputed, he's gonna have to give Usyk what Usyk deserves and what's fair is a 60-40 split.
Do you think with Fury there's an element, he won't say it, but there's an element of risk reward at play? You know, he can say all he wants, Usyk's a little middleweight, but I think he knows himself deep down how tough a challenge this is. And he's probably thinking, I want to get the max out of this because I don't know what could happen in this fight. He'll obviously play it confident, but Usyk is, ask AJ. He's no slouch.
Usyk's phenomenal. He's phenomenal. But Tyson Fury's incredible.
He is.
Honestly, it doesn't make sense how good that man is with his physique and his height. He shouldn't be that nimble. I mean, yes, we're not happy about the Chisora and maybe even the Dillian White fight before that, but the way in which he deals with them. And I said this about AJ, and we'll probably talk about AJ Franklin later. Like the way in which he deals with B-level, C-level fighters is so impressive. So yes, there is a risk reward there, but for me, I don't think there's any part of Tyson Fury that's scared of Alexander Usyk. Like those days of me thinking Fury's scared of anyone are gone. Gone. I mean, this guy literally will go to anyone's backyard. We've seen it. We've seen it with the Wilder situation, with the Vladimir Klitschko situation. He's incredible, which is why the fight's so good. Because again, I've watched Usyk up close twice now, and he's insane. And I've seen Fury up close a few times. He's insane. It's such a good matchup.
The two of them are you can't even question the best two heavyweights in the world. And I think that's why we all want this fight so much. Yeah. For me, I'm going to say I think Joshua Wilder commercially is a bigger fight. Commercially.
Oh, yes.
But you can't get away from the fact that you want 1 and 2 to fight. And so we know undisputed, and he is the man in the division. That's what I want to see more so than I love AJ Wilder, but that's what I really want to see.
Yeah, we've seen 2 semi-finals recently. We've seen Fury Wilder go at it 3 times. So, and we've seen AJ Usyk go at it twice. So we've seen semi-finals already play out. So we want to see the finalists go in there. Commercially, I'm with you. AJ Wilder is good. Commercially, it's incredible, that fight. Wherever it happens in the world, wherever. America, US, Africa, Middle East, wherever. But we now need to know who the number 1 is. Because I'm telling you now, there's a lot of people that will make an argument to say Usyk's the best on the planet. I don't agree with that. I think Fury is, but there's some that will make the argument. And as long as there are some, we need to see Fury versus Usyk get it on. We need to see it. 2, and the best thing about it is as well, both unbeaten. So it's not like anyone, it's like one's coming, both unbeaten, both incredible. I've got to see it. Take my money. This is the kind of fight where I'm not joking, and it shouldn't happen. But if they were to say £30 £30 pay-per-view, people will be livid. People will pay. People will pay.
I pay. I would pay happily. You can't say like I wouldn't pay because it's the best. It is number 1 and number 2.
The best. You're getting the best that you can get. You'll pay. And I wouldn't be surprised if they take the P with it and do that. I would not be surprised. Yeah.
It'd probably be a muck undercard, but it'd be a case of, do you really care about the undercard? You want to see the main event. That's literally how it will be. And $1 million question, right? Will we get it this year? Yes or no?
Oh, 100% yes.
Yeah.
100% yes. Yeah, I would be astounded if we don't get this. I mean, if it comes down to 60-40, 75-20, it's going to happen. Some way it's going to happen. It just has to. Where they both going to go, it has to happen. Both of them want this fight. I mean, there's other options for them both, but all the other heavyweights now are starting to announce their fights. Joe Joyce looks like he's going to take on Zhei Li Zhang. That's pretty much done. AJ Franklin's done. Wilder Ruiz, I know, is very, very close. So there aren't any other heavyweights they can fight. Otto Volin White looks done. Tony Yoka, Carlos Takam. Once you start going down the list, you start to run out of heavyweights in the top 15 anyway.
You start to run out of heavyweights and you start to run into dark horses to who needs him. That's the
Yeah,
problem with that. You run into the
yeah.
Frank Sanchez's of the world, and it's like,
Oh, avoid,
nah, nah,
avoid,
avoid.
avoid now. Frank Sanchez,
It's
young Jared Anderson. Those are the kind of fights that you're like, yeah, you stay over there. You stay over
you
there.
stay out there. It's funny you mentioned, right? We're talking about the young kind of guys coming up, right? I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look. We're moving Swift a little bit on, but the next generation, have you had a look? Because he's going to be on the Yard Peterbiev card next week, Moses Atuma.
Yes,
And what are your thoughts?
insane. I'm blown away by
I
someone
was.
that can be that big, that fast, that aggressive, but that young.
Mm-hmm.
That young. He's an incredible boxer. And look, well done to Frank Warren for getting him
Oh yeah.
because, I mean, Boxer would have been jumping all over him. Eddie must have played or made a bid for him. And Frank's the one that secured his signature. So that's a big, big move for Frank Warren. Look, he's young and we've
He
seen this
is.
kind of before. We've got to be careful. I'm not going to, look, don't get me wrong, Hughie Fury's nothing like him. But I do remember when Hughie Fury came out and he was chasing
Mm.
his dream of becoming a world champion, younger than Mike Tyson. And look what's happened to Hughie. So you've got to be careful. You've got to match him correctly.
I do. I take that into consideration, but we didn't hear about with look, Daniel Dubois is another example
Mm.
about him having at 15 leaving school in his uniform, sparring world champions, and not lit or part of spars, full contact spars. Mate, when I was 15, I was playing Call of Duty with my friends. This guy is going in
Yeah.
sparring Lawrence Cody.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And look, Daniel Dubois is probably the only one that we can compare because I remember watching
Mm.
Daniel Dubois when he was 18 sparring Derek Chisora and handling himself very, very well. So look, Daniel Dubois is the only one we can compare. But again, you got to look at Daniel Dubois' trajectory as well. And I mean, that's a bit concerning. So they've got to be careful with him. And maybe they learn from what they did with Dubois in terms of that Joe Joyce fight. Maybe there is a learning sort of thing to look at because I've listened to Atoma's interviews and he's very like, I want 8 fights this year and I want to be world
Mm-hmm.
champion. I think there is, be careful.
It,
The
it's
amateurs and heavyweights are different.
I know, but it's a different for me. When I listened to Daniel Dubois when he was being interviewed, he was pro about 18, 19, and I listened to Moses Atuma. The first thing that strikes you is Moses Atuma is just innately more confident.
Yeah.
He's more assured of himself. Dubois, I think looking back in hindsight, you could kind of see this is and he's still in his box a bit now, but this is a very shy character. He needs a lot of work and in lots of ways, not just physically, mentally. Whereas Atuma seems more, no, I know what I want, eye on the prize, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, Atuma almost reminds me of like the and I don't mean this in a bad way, but the arrogant Americans. Where they just think they can dominate the world. Like, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that. You must expect them to speak with an American accent, in fact. So look, Queensbury have clearly got the best heavyweight stable you can have right now, and they're adding to
Okay.
it. And I'm very, very excited to see his progression. And with him as well now, there are so many good fights out there, like
Mm.
sort of faded people, guys coming to the end, in and around the top 40. So there are fights to really progress his career. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what he can do. And especially how good I think people are going to be very surprised at just how aggressive he is for
Mm.
someone new and how fast he is when he fights on that Yard Peterbiev card.
I can't wait. It's the fight, apart from the main event, I'm most looking forward to. And thank you, Andrew, for the super chat. £5 every little bit helps, mate. Thank you. What do you make of Joyce versus Zhang for April 15th? I literally have a video ready to go on that, but a spoiler. I was surprised. I think that in terms of risk, look, I know Joe Joyce is a good chin, but Zhang, he can crack.
I'm so happy you said that. I thought you was going to go another way there. But I was ringside for Zhang versus Hrgovic. Zhang beat Hrgovic. It wasn't a robbery, but if you just score a fight as you should, just round for round, Zhang won that fight. If they were to announce tomorrow Joe Joyce versus Hrgovic, people would be like, "Oh my
Oh
god,
yeah.
this is incredible!" Zhang beat Hrgovic, so everyone should be reacting this way, like, "Wow, this is an incredible fight." Zhang is big. His feet aren't fast. I'm certainly not going to lie and
No.
say that, but he has a way in which he cuts you off, so there are no exit pockets. Almost a bit like Golovkin. He can't seem to get away from him, and he can hit. And I was saying this about Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce, we know, has a granite chin, but that can only last for so long.
Yeah.
Dubois cracked it a little bit. Carlos Takam hit him with everything, and so did Joseph Parker. I could argue and say Zhang hits a bit harder than all of those guys.
I would.
So if he cracks him, wow, we have got a fight.
We have a problem.
I'm
People
you.
said they wanted to see Wilder versus Joyce, the best right hand in boxing versus the best chin. What about the best left hand in heavyweight boxing?
There you go. And this is what's interesting as well. I mean, I don't know how many southpaws Joe Joyce has fought. I'm gonna have to scratch my head and think about it. But southpaw sparring we know is difficult to find.
Very.
Like every orthodox fighter hates southpaws. But yes. Look, Zhang's coming off a win. And that fight against Hrgovic, bear in mind Hrgovic at the time,
final eliminator
guy, Zhang's going to take so much confidence. Even with a loss, he's going to feel like, well, 1 second, I belong in this. So, yeah, great fight.
Do you think that Zhang, it's going to sound weird, but in a way, he looks deceiving. He doesn't flatter apart from the punching power. But when you actually see him, like he looks like against someone like you'd say, oh, him against Hrgovic, easy win for Hrgovic because he doesn't look like anything special. But then when you see him actually put it all together, you're like, oh, now I see it.
He's deceptively good. Deceptively good. You watch him and you're thinking, like when it was announced, honestly, and not only that, but he's so kind and nice, like a big cuddly teddy bear. I know it sounds stupid. But, I mean, at the weigh-in for Hrgovic was mean, mugging. Zhang was smiling and laughing, and you're thinking Hrgovic is going to kill him. But then when he puts it together, his hand speed, his punch selection, I think it surprised Hrgovic. But I think what more surprised Hrgovic was his power.
Yeah,
he hurt Hrgovic numerous times.
Yeah, he did. Noticeably, and Hrgovic was...
The only thing I will say with Zhang, his cardio is not great.
No,
he was
terrible.
blowing out of his backside after round 8 or 9, and we know that Joe Joyce has a cardio that can go old school 15 rounds. That's the problem.
That's a great fight in of itself. Like we're getting some very, very and seriously, for someone who's got a world title fight lined up, that is a risk. People could say like, oh, it's a risk. I'm telling you now, someone with that kind of punching power, it's a risk.
It's such a big risk. It really is. But look, this is what we want. And I mean, if you're Joe Joyce, Frank and his management would have put options on the table. Like, okay, as I've seen people do, they probably put out 5 or 6 guys, and you work out, okay, this guy's going to pay that much, this much, that much. And Joe Joyce is probably like, what's the toughest fight here?
Yeah,
I don't want to be playing around. Look, Joe Joyce isn't 31. You know what I mean? This is a guy that in age really is coming to the end if you look at his age.
Yeah.
He wants the big fights, and this one is a big fight. So why not? Let's do it.
Let's do it. April is shaping up to be a good month. We're hearing Valine versus White in April. This fight in April. Potentially, we could have Undisputed in April. And before I finish, man, me and you, we got to big up Chris Andre for the £10. Big up, gents. Do you think Eubank's cheating comments has deprived Smith of sleep this week? The question from my missus, the sly looks plus Joe McNally sly undermining Roy Jones Jr. class games. A big up to Chris every single time. Without doubt, probably the best analyst on YouTube, in my opinion.
Definitely in the top 3 or 4. There's some really good ones out there, but I think I said this on my YouTube live the other day that Chris just knows his stuff. Like he really, really just knows his boxing. And what I like about Chris as well, it's all the weight classes. There isn't like, okay, I only know welterweight and above, almost like Premier League top 6 football. No, he knows everything. And I think that's what's impressive. What he said there was interesting about Joe McNally slyly undermining Roy Jones, because I got that sense in the press conference as well, where he had a little, like Roy Jones as a fighter, amazing. Roy Jones as a trainer, I don't really know what he's done. And I think that's so true. Roy Jones as a trainer, I mean, what?
The jury's out on me.
Jury's out massively. And that's sometimes what happens in all sports when a great sports person then becomes a manager. Or you expect that your team or your box or whatever to kind of be like you. It's impossible.
Yeah,
and
no.
That's what Roy's tried to do with Eubank, and it just hasn't worked.
It hasn't worked. To be fair to Roy, I've seen little things in Eubank, and isn't it ironic that probably the trainer who, and I mean no disrespect with this, but probably can only bring so much out of Eubank realistically is the one he listens to, because he respects him more than a trainer who probably could bring more out. It's weird that way.
Yeah, and it's a great point you make. I mean, Roy's only been with Chris, what, 2 years?
2-3 years, yeah.
And
I think it was 2020
for a year. So they probably only, and Chris didn't bring him in for the Ben fight, so they probably only have been with each other for 3 fight camps. So what? I mean, Chris is 33 now.
Yeah.
If Roy had him when he was 21, then I mean, it could be something sensational. But Roy got him late, and Chris isn't active. So
No.
I mean, what are you supposed to do?
That's the big problem.
He's not active at all, Chris.
And a fighter who relied so much on athleticism, that will Dwayne.
Yeah, of course it's going to. It's going to.
And they're raining in tonight. Super chats. Jamie, punch perfect. Another one. One of the best analysts on YouTube. Big up to you both. No question here. Just show some love. Thank you, mate. Keep up the good work. Jamie and Chris, the two legends. Man, we have it all in. We have a full party tonight.
It's funny because when I watch Jamie's videos, it makes me feel like I know shit about the sport. Like, you know, when Jamie starts talking about the fucking Mexican that's fighting, I'm like, who the hell? It makes me think, oh my god, I don't know shit about boxing. But I mean, look,
I always thought I was well knowledge on amateur until I saw Jamie, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
I know nothing.
Same here. I knew my bit, and then you watch Chris and you watch Jamie. But I think the good thing about both of those guys, and it shows, like, YouTube channels are growing. Like when I started doing this, Hatman and a couple of others, there weren't that many.
No.
And now there's a lot of people wanting to get involved, and I think that's how it should be. There's loads of people that should get involved in the sport and make videos. I always say this, and I see it with people in the comments that know their stuff. I'm like, man, just start a YouTube channel. Just start a YouTube channel. Yeah.
I mean, it is one of the best things I've ever done because I have so much fun doing it. I talk about something I love, and it's like me and you. It's taken us strange. If you told me a couple of years ago, yeah, you'll be doing interviews at Joe Joyce versus Hammer on Press Raw, I'd be like, ha ha ha, how am I going to do that? There you go. It's crazy,
bro. It's crazy. Like, if you have told me you're going to be fucking interviewing Golovkin, I'm like, shut up. What are you talking about? No. You're going to see Canelo. I'm like, Bivvol's going to give you his jacket. So, like, you don't know where it can go. Look, not everyone's aim will be to work for a broadcaster, right? But it's there. It's an option. Some people won't. Some people don't want to do that, and I think that's fair. Some people just, don't want to get in front of a camera like that. But I think there are some. I think like Jamie definitely wants to, and I think there are some. And you just don't know. You never know who's watching your videos. Like when I went to go and interview AJ for DAZN, what did AJ say? He watches Hatman videos.
I'm not surprised about that.
I was like, huh? What? So you don't know who's watching your shit. You really don't.
No, and it's crazy. It is, like, because a few boxers have reached out to me, some not so kind, because I've not said exactly nice things, but most of the time it's been pretty good.
No, it's difficult, man. Like I understand where you are. I've had boxers privately reach out to me or send them at stuff, and you said this and you said that, and I'm like, fucking boxers, for being the most, hardest people on the planet, they don't like when you critique them at all. I do not like it at all. So yeah, it's not easy, but look, it's part of what we do. It's part of what we do.
It's part of what we do, and it's something, and we love it. We love it. I wouldn't change this for the world.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like, this green chair is gonna go everywhere with me. Ain't moving.
I need to update the chairs though, which I will be doing in the summer.
Yeah. I think there needs to be something, right? There needs to be a background, or come on, G-man, a background, a poster. What, you can't get anything? All we get is brown curtains. We can't get anything else.
I'm building a house. I'm building a house in the summer, and you'll see. Then I'll have a little spot. I'll have a little boxing spot for the videos in the summer. Wait and see. But before those supers came in, I was going to ask, right? April shaped to be a good month. I seen Eddie Hearn with an interview with Boxing Social today say that next week we're going to have an announcement on AJ's opponent, not going to be a southpaw. So, what do you think? And if it is, in fact, Jermaine Franklin, I don't mind that personally. Do you think a lot of people are being too harsh on AJ? Because bear in mind, it's a comeback. He's come back from 2 losses, and in my opinion, a bit of a breakdown in the ring. He's owed an easy fight or 2. In fact, he could probably owe 2 or 3.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's 2 ways to look at it. I know some are upset about it. You're right. AJ's lost his last 2 fights. He's lost his last 2. And if you want to go a bit further, he's lost 3 of his last 5.
Yeah.
And that's disastrous, right? You lost 3 of your last 5, considering before you were steamrolling everyone and you were like the biggest name in boxing, right? The biggest draw. You've lost 3 of your last 5. Eddie said in one interview, it's time to rebuild AJ. You used the term rebuild. If you're rebuilding someone, you're not going to put them in there with a killer. You're going to go in against someone that you feel like you can get some rounds, get some confidence back. Remember, it's a new trainer with Derek James, so I think you can give AJ this one. I think you can get it.
100%.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, is Jermaine Franklin any worse than Derek Chisora, who the lineal heavyweight champion just fought? Do you know what I mean? There's debates there. Jermaine Franklin any worse than Helenius, who Wilder just fought? So I mean, and with Jermaine Franklin as
Arguably
well,
beat White.
yeah, a lot of people thought he beat White. I mean, look, I want to see AJ in with someone of note. But if we are going to get 3 fights this year, and that's what Eddie said, and the first one is Jermaine Franklin, and AJ gets 5 or 6 rounds. Look, ultimately, at the end of the year, I want to see AJ in there against Joe Joyce, Fury, or Wilder. But I want to see a confident AJ in there against Joe Joyce, Wilder, or Fury. I don't want to see the guy I saw at the back end of that Usyk fight. And I think he needs to knock a few people on their backside to gain that confidence back again.
I agree, but you know the one worry I have about AJ? It's something he said about wanting to go from trainer to trainer, that he wanted to be a bit more of a free spirit. If I like Derek James as a trainer, I think it's a great choice. If he works, don't change it. That's the one thing I would say. If he's working for you and you feel good in him, just because you feel, well, I said it, so I have to do it, go to this guy. No. If he's working for you, stick with it. That's the one thing I would like. I wouldn't like to see him go from one trainer to another and thing. I was quite kind of annoyed when he left Garcia because I thought that was working okay.
Dude,
I thought that was working fine.
So was I. I made a ton of videos talking about it. I mean, I thought Garcia's a great guy, and all this talk about Garcia has never trained a heavyweight nonsense. He's trained numerous world champions. He knows what he's doing. Trust me. And I thought AJ actually looked okay against Usyk. Yes, it's funny because the score was probably the same as it was the first time they fought. But that's not a reflection of the fight. I thought AJ actually looked better in spots.
He had more moments, and he looked better.
Had some good moments against a very skilled boxer. But I'm with you. Like, if you're going to stick with Derek James, who has got Errol Spence and Jamel Charlo, and they're 2 very aggressive fighters, stay there. Move to Dallas. Move to wherever. Get out there and just live there and really commit to this. The idea of going from trainer to trainer, who's that ever worked for? Like, that makes no sense.
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
If anything, it's just been a detriment.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that because then you get caught up in too many different minds. All those trainers are very different. It almost got to the point where I was like, okay, just go back to Rob McCracken. Just go back to Rob. Go there. No, rather than go from trainer to trainer. What I don't want to see. Because then you almost like a trainer gives you some idea and then another trainer gives you another idea. It's just not going to work. So look, hopefully it works with Derek James. My only question is, why didn't you choose Derek James the first time? Because you clearly went to that camp and saw him and hit some pads. All of a sudden, you've gone back there now. What's the difference? Why was it a no then and it's a yes now?
I'm going to sound a bit cynical for saying this, but do you think it might be the fact that Derek James is trainer of the year last year, his fighters have been on a high, that it's a kind of like, do you remember when you'd be a kid, if you wear these boots that David Beckham wore, it'll make you a better player? Do you think maybe there's an element of that in it?
I think there's 2 things at play here. I definitely think there's that. So like, it's almost like as soon as you go into the camp, you just get that extra 10% lift. Like, wow, I know AJ's big, but there's Errol Spence, arguably the best 147 pounder. There's the undisputed 154 pounder in Jamel Charlo. And I also think there is, there you go. And I also think there's a case of Derek said, I can train you, but you've got to come to America. And he might have said that before, and AJ might have not wanted to. Where now AJ's like, okay, you know what? I'll come. Whereas Robert Garcia was willing to go over. Whereas Derek's like, you want me to train you? You come to my gym. Come to my gym because you want to come back in April. Errol's going to fight Keith in April. I'm not doing this transatlantic thing. You want to train with me? Come to Dallas. And I think that's probably why they've ended up going together. But look, Derek James works for AJ. I just hope that we see, because I feel like AJ's only got like 5 or 6 fights left. And I hope we see a very good AJ.
As do I. Thanks again for the super chat to Fight Sport Talk from New Zealand, by the way. Big up, guys. Ruiz probably won't be allowed to fight Hrgovic. Do you think Hrgovic will fight for the interim title? Do you know why I find that interesting? Because I doubt very much that Ruiz will. He'll probably go the Wilder route. But AJ is highly ranked with the IBF. If he has a successful year, he actually could end the year fighting Hrgovic for the interim title if it's not already vacant, or possibly the full title.
Yeah,
So
I have
there you
no
go.
problem with AJ fighting Hrgovic. Before I
No.
was like, Hrgovic almost had this Ivan Drago thing about him, where it's like, wow, this guy can't be beaten. I've seen him lose now. I saw Zhang beat him, which is a good boxer. I think he said something about AJ the other day, like AJ's lost these I can't remember what he said, like the aggression or something. Hrgovic is good, but the AJ that fought Usyk should beat Hrgovic.
Yeah, I think
You
so
know what I
too.
mean? And hopefully Derek James adds a bit more to that arsenal. That when you watch Errol Spence and Jamel Charlo, they fight without fear, very spiteful, very aggressive, no worry about their chin or anything, or their cardio. Hopefully, Derek can instill a bit of that into AJ, because he will be going into the camp at the same time Errol Spence starts camp. So hopefully, a bit of Errol, that dog, can rub off on AJ.
Hopefully the good stuff rubs off, because we know some of the stuff that Spence. If he's taking stuff from Spence, take the good stuff. Don't take the car crashes and all the other stuff. Take the good
don't
stuff,
say that.
AJ.
Yeah, don't get in a car with him.
Yeah, don't get
do
it. My man is, to say unlucky, my man's proper unlucky.
Yeah, no, but I'm happy that AJ's coming out of his comfort zone. All this Sheffield and Loughborough, it's just, I've been there. It's all nice and
Yeah.
clean, especially Sheffield. It's so perfect. Like, sometimes you watch them old school movies of people training in the dungeons. I want that. I want a bit of that now. It's just all nice and clean. And no, go away from home. Let it be gritty and hard and dirty, and then come back a dog, please.
Yeah. I think it'll work brilliant. I really do. Some people questioned it, but no, I think it's going to be brilliant. And then obviously Dylan, this really caught me out of left field. Dylan White potentially fighting Otto Verlaine. Now, I know Eddie Hearn talked about Dylan White versus Joshua in the summer, and I'm going to say it here, right? If Eddie was in front of me right now, right, I would say, Eddie, from what I'm seeing from Dylan White, if you want him to fight Joshua in the summer, you don't want to risk him at all. Just don't let him fight, because I don't trust him at all.
Yeah. Look, I don't know what's left with Dillian White. I'm trying to think of the last good performance I saw from Dillian White, and it wasn't
Povetkin performance.
I actually didn't think that was a great performance. That honestly, I don't. I'm watching.
Povetkin was more just
Povetkin was done. It was done. When a fighter, no disrespect, when a fighter retires immediately after, you kind of know they had nothing in the tank. So it's been a while since we've seen a really wow. Maybe the Chisora 2 performance. I thought that was good.
That was good.
Parker was good as well. But I need to see that Dillian White again.
That's 4 years ago. We might not get that. Dude. Like 4 years in boxing. If you're looking like that 4 years ago and not now, chances are you're not going to look like it again. And I think his chin has regressed something terrible. I mean,
it's not good. It's not good. And look, he was there. I mean, Jermaine Franklin was chosen for him to look really good against the smaller heavyweight, blast through him, an unbeaten guy. But let's be honest, it's not a name we knew, but the unbeaten record looks good. And Dillian White looked poor. He looked poor. And maybe that's it. Like, Dillian White's been in some really tough fights. I think people forget that. Some really tough fights. And maybe that's it with Dillian White. But then I also feel like we're maybe putting Otto Volin a bit higher than we should because of the Fury performance. He looked awful against Kamil Sokolowski.
He did. He took that on 8 days' notice, to be fair.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. You're right. And Sokolowski does cause everyone problems, it seems. But I think Otto Volin's actually fighting next week. He's fighting someone like a gimme next week. And he probably is going to get this one. I think he deserves it. He was supposed to fight Dillian White a year ago.
21, yeah.
So he deserves it.
He's tricky. Now, Verlaine, I wouldn't say is a big puncher, but to be honest with you, I look at Dillian White and I think, you don't probably need to be a big puncher to hurt him these days. I mean, Franklin doesn't strike me as being particularly heavy-handed, and he rocked Dillian White. It was a 9th round, I think it was.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I by the bell in the 9th round.
I fear for Dillian White in this fight. I really do. And I think if you're Otto Verlaine, you get this fight, you got to be looking at that thinking, I got this. If there's never a better chance.
I mean, if you're Eddie, if Otto Volin does beat Dillian White, then it's easy. Okay, AJ Otto Volin. It's an easy one. Either way, obviously Dillian White's the bigger money fight. But it's easy then to say, okay, we wanted Dillian White, but we'll take Otto Volin. Everyone will be happy with that.
No one complain.
So
I'd worry about Verlaine, Joshua. I just think he's awkward.
Yeah, and Dillian White isn't. I mean this respectfully. It's not like he's a big draw. Like
No,
I was at
how
Dillian White,
full was the
Jermaine
Wembley
Franklin.
Arena when you were
There
there?
weren't many there.
Really?
Many there. 5,000-6,000 maybe.
We saw more at the Misfit show last week.
Yeah, there you exactly 13 there. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's that guy that does amazing, incredible pay-per-view numbers or anything like that. AJ's a draw in himself. AJ could still fight me or you and do big numbers. So whether it's Otto Volin or Dillian White or Hergovich in the summer, you're there because of AJ. So it doesn't necessarily matter.
No, I agree. And just speaking of Misfits, I gotta chuck it in because I know you done the shows and well done on it. You get to go to them events, see all the YouTubers and see, this, that, and the other. But I have to say, right, a lot of people don't like it, and some people do. Now, I'm probably in the minority where I really don't mind. I actually watched the show on Saturday, I didn't pay for it, but I enjoyed some of the fights as well.
Yeah, dodgy.
No, the Zone of I pay my subscription, but
it was on pay-per-view, wasn't it? Forget that was on pay-per-view.
That's enough for the Zone. They get my £8 every month. That's enough. That's enough. But I did enjoy some of the fights. And what struck me was the amount of people there. Like, we have Yard Beterbiev next week in that same venue. It won't be as packed. It won't be.
No chance.
And if these fans who are watching this, if it translates into the normal pro game, and my argument is that not a good thing?
You know what the funny? I don't know if it does. I almost feel like they're separate. I used to think that as well. And that used to be my argument. Like, you know what? If they watch that, they might then watch a pro fight. I'm not quite sure. I think the pros can learn a lot from these Misfits YouTube guys. I really do. I think, first of all, I think promoters can learn a lot. Like the first fight at 7 o'clock, 13,000 were in at 7 o'clock. Yeah. The first fight. And it wasn't KSI fighting. It was Anthony Taylor, Idris Virgo. Idris Virgo's a pro who's had 13 fights, and I think the most he's ever fought in front of was 500 people.
Crazy.
So boxing needs to put on better cards so that it's full from the get-go. Boxing has this habit where people start walking in just before the main event.
Or they walk out after their fighters fought.
Yeah. And the atmosphere's dead. And another thing as well, these fighters really, and I spoke to Eddie about this, and Eddie was saying he doesn't understand why every single fighter doesn't have a YouTube channel, someone doing all their social media posts, a cameraman walking around with them. Like, you need to interact with your fans. We need to know what you are, what you're doing, what you're eating. Like, we just want to know what car you drive, what watch you, all that kind of stuff. And these YouTubers have a way of literally feeding their fans with content after content after content. And real fighters don't do it. I'm like, and the funny thing, the worst thing about all these real fighters, I say real fighters because they are real fighters. When I'm at events, they have like an entourage of 10 to 15 people. Are you telling me one person in that crew can't control your social media and have a camera next to him? Like, we need to know more about you. And that's one thing that the YouTubers have got spot on.
Yeah.
They don't muck about with content. And I think that's important.
No. And they're great. Like, their personality shine through. You see kind of what they're like with boxers. Even to people like Coogan and, Rob Tepper, you still kind of see an enigma there. And it's just like, they're trying to sell themselves to the public and they're just not doing it. Whereas these YouTubers, people hear, oh, he's fighting there, 7 o'clock.
Mate, I've seen some of the boxers. I'm not going to mention no names because, I don't want to get punched when I go to events. I've seen some of the boxers refuse to do interviews with certain YouTube channels. The Misfit guys do it with every single channel. They're like, whoa, I want to get on your channel. They don't even know. They don't care how big your channel is. What's your name? They're just like, they see a camera and they start performing. And I'm like, these boxers are like, dude, you're not even doing your media. Like, you're not even doing your social media. It's like, you almost act like, oh, I can't be asked and you're going home. I'm like, I don't, honestly, it baffles me. So yeah, look, I saw Josh Taylor and Carl Frampton and I think Matthew Macklin having a dig. And I'm like, man, you need to understand that what these guys are doing, that not, obviously some of them call out professional boxers and maybe that's where they've crossed the line, but ultimately they're in there and they're having a scrap. And I know, trust me, there are easier things they could be doing to make money than getting there and having a fight. Trust me.
Anyone who gets in the ring, regardless, they got a set of cojones on them because it's not fun.
Not fun at all. And they're doing 5 or 6 week camps. One of the fighters had a guy called FaZe Tember, Malik Scott as his trainer. Didn't help him, but
No, I
they're
didn't
getting
help him at all.
serious. Another guy had Saddam Ali from a light middleweight champion as his trainer. So they are serious with it. Do you know what I mean? They're very serious with it.
You
And
think you think Jake Paul is still the standard bearer, or do you think Jake Paul is actually a proper fighter now at this stage? Because he seems to really take things a lot more serious.
yeah, he's taking it serious. I mean, look, he's going to fight a real, whatever you want to call Tommy Fury. I don't know if you call him a real fighter or not, but he's fighting a real fighter in Tommy Fury, right? I mean, this is a guy that's had professional fights. So, I don't know, man. I guess that's where it maybe gets a bit murky when some of them then try and fight real fighters. But for now, it's fun. I just love being in a place where it's packed.
Yeah,
And when you get
the
those
atmosphere.
events when they're packed, it's incredible. When you get these events when half the arena's blacked out because you could only sell 3,000 or 4,000 tickets, it's like, oh god.
You want to talk about sold out arenas, right? And I think we're going to see this later on this year, and I think you're going to love it because you'll be at it. Katie Taylor, Crow Park.
Yeah.
You think we're going to get it? Yes or no?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. They're working their arse off to make sure it happens. And that's going to be sensational. And she deserves it. Like Katie's done so much, not just for female boxing, just for boxing in general. I mean, that fight against Amanda Serrano will go down as one of my greatest things I've ever seen in my life. It was sensational. And it has to be Amanda. I know they're talking about Chantel Cameron and Alicia Baumgardner and Michaela. No. It has to be Amanda Serrano. To be fair, though, if I'm honest with you, I'm a bit upset because, like, the atmosphere of Madison Square Garden was so good because it was split.
I
Half
heard you
Puerto
say that
Rican, half
before,
Irish. So it almost like that little battle in the crowds, almost like an FA Cup football match. So I do think it's going to be unfair on Amanda that she walks out to like 80,000 Irish and maybe just her corner being the Puerto Ricans in there. But yeah, that's going to be a crazy atmosphere. Crazy.
Personally, Katie Taylor is probably the most loved athlete we have in Ireland. People who don't even watch boxing idolize her. So Crow Park, which is an 80,000 plus arena, I'd imagine that is going to be full rocking. And if you've never been to Crow Park, I've been. It is massive, and there is a hell of a lot of things to do outside of Dublin, where Crow Park is in Drumcondra.
You know, it's crazy. Like I in my gym, there's a couple of Irish girls that train in my gym, and they saw that I was working on the last Katie Taylor fight at Wembley Arena. So I got them tickets. And I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can go a step further and get them backstage after Katie Taylor's fight to see Katie, take them into the changing room. So I knocked on the door. I was like, Katie, Katie's very religious. She always prays before and after fights. So I didn't know she was praying, but no, she was just doing a couple of medicals. I was like, Katie, do you mind? I've got a couple of fans that want to see you. Katie was the nicest. They like literally, they could not believe that they got into Katie Taylor's change room and the way she like, come in, ladies, and took a couple of photos with them, and they're just having a conversation. And the girl keeps on reminding me, like, I can't thank you enough for that. That was the greatest night of my life. So I understand the reaction she has on Irish people, but it's because of how she is. Because she could have easily said, Ade, I'm tired. The fight's done. Like, you're not supposed to be back here. But she was like, of course, get in. Let me take some photos. She was incredible that night. Incredible.
Yeah, no, I'm looking for. I hope it happens as well. And I think for Irish boxing, it would lift it so much because it is not. It's okay here. It's getting better, but having an event like that, we haven't had one like that in ever of that magnitude for boxing. It would be amazing. It would just be amazing.
Irish boxing's in a kind of weird place. They've always had stars, right? But now you look at the next two, and I think Gary Cully
Brilliant.
is really good. Kevin Ajarko, another one as well that I'm looking forward to seeing.
Paddy Donovan.
Right. Yeah. Oh, bloody hell. Yeah.
Tremendous.
Yeah. Michael Conlon. So there are some, don't get me wrong. But maybe it isn't what it was as like 5-6 years ago, maybe with Carl just obviously dominating the scene. But there are some good ones.
No, I hope for God we get it in the summer because Ireland is lovely in the summer. It's bright about 11 o'clock at night as well. So hopefully we get it. Hopefully
and another thing about Katie before we move on, like honestly, I've just got to say this because she is the most humble human being. So not even I've ever seen in my life. Bear in mind, she's just the queen of boxing, multi-millionaire, would have made some really good money in some recent fights. all the fighters I know, everyone comes with an entourage, tracksuits, all like all like a sign of your name. Katie just walks in with herself, her trainer, sometimes her mum, and one other, just 4 people.
Mm-hmm.
Makes no noise. Will interview anyone. I can't explain how nice she is. Honestly, it's insane. For someone who's achieved so much, she is the most nicest person I've ever seen in my life.
Do you know something I find like it's good in a way? Eddie seems to almost like I know all of his fighters he wants them all to win, but he seems the happiest when Katie's doing well, even more so than Joshua. That's from what I've seen. He seems to really have a good, real connection with Katie.
Yeah, I think it's changed over the years because look, when Eddie signed her, it was around the same time that Ronda
2016.
Rousey was doing stuff in the UFC.
Yeah.
So I think Eddie was praying she was going to be like a Ronda Rousey and start talking and trash talk. And then I think he just realized she just isn't that. So I'm not going to try and change her or make her be what she isn't. She's just going to go in there and fight. And she fights anyone. I think we've seen it. You look at her resume and she literally fights anyone. So yeah, I think there's a soft spot because
100%.
at the time he really wasn't thinking about female boxing. And then she came along and it was like, wow, okay, this girl can actually scrap and she can scrap. And I think you've got to appreciate that. You have to.
You have to. She's a tremendous talent, and just to carry on about it, her over here, it just every time she does well, it just lifts the country. Every single time she does well, the people absolutely love her, especially down in Bray, which is about roughly 40 minutes away from North Dublin. Just lifts everyone. She's tremendous. Yeah. In terms of fights this weekend, we'll start talk about this one and the next one. Liam Smith, Eubank Jr. Me and you are both doing watch-alongs first. I'm excited. I can't wait. What are your thoughts? You were at the press conference.
I was at the press conference. I spoke to both. I spoke to Smith and Eubank, and I'm not joking. Both like 110% think they're going to win. Like, there's no I have to be on my egg. No. Both think they're going to win. Like, duh. Like, when you ask them, like, of course I'm going to win. Both in great shape. Fantastic physical specimens. And look, both of them, it will be their biggest win. So they understand as well. Like, Chris's biggest win is the girl, maybe.
Definitely.
Yeah, the girl, I think fair to say. And Liam's biggest win is Liam Williams. I know he won a world title, but Liam Williams is probably the biggest on the CV. So I don't know, man. I think it's a big win. It's a big fight for both. I'm not sure about it being a pay-per-view fight, but I think it's a pay-per-view event. I did speak to Ben Shalom about this, and I was like, why do they all have to be 19? Like, this is a £10 pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't it just be a £10 pay-per-view? Why does it have to be $19.95? Like, why is it always stuck on certain price points?
Did he look through your soul with those eyes? Ben Shalom
he gave me that look.
With that stare.
And it was like, we just need, this is you know what it is? I think there's so many broadcasters that want talent that you're almost overpaying for talent nowadays. Because you're fighting off, like Liam Smith was on DAZN, Eubank was going to fight on DAZN, so DAZN would love them. So you may be paying above and beyond. So you've almost got to do pay-per-view in order to pay these guys. So I think that's the problem. But look, back to the fight. Eubank starts fast. We all know he does.
Smith
can start slow, but then Smith starts to grind through the gears. And once he gets to like 7 or 8, he's open just to fight. And if he's still there, close on the scorecards around 7 or 8, then man, down the straight, this is going to be something crazy.
I can't wait for it. To be honest, the more I think about it, the more I think Eubank has this. But Liam Smith, he's probably the best pressure fighter Eubank's ever fought.
Yeah.
Fair to say?
Yeah. You know what? I agree with that. Honestly, I agree with that a lot. What will be interesting though about Eubank, and like Eubank's a pressure fighter as well. But of recent, we haven't seen it. I don't know if it's that Roy Jones influence again, where he's trying to make him box on the back foot looking pretty. Eubank, I know he's 33, but he almost needs to go back to Eubank of 4 years ago, where he just puts it on you. And he's relentless. Like he did Adney Yildirim, where it was like, I'm not giving you no space.
That was one of his best.
Right in your face, and we're going to go for it. Because he's got, obviously, we know he's got the granite chin. So trust your chin, be right up close to Smith, and just go for it. If he tries to box, it might be his undoing because he's not a better boxer than Liam Smith.
No, it could be. I was saying that the way they coming in was impressive. The counter punching's a lot better.
Yeah, you cut out
That's
there,
one
but
thing I do.
just a little bit.
Oh, I think the counter punching is better from Eubank
From
nowadays. So
Eubank,
that's one thing. Yeah, that's one thing about him since he's been with Roy Jones. Better counter puncher than he was.
better counter puncher, but against what? So against Marcus Morrison? Do you know? No disrespect to Marcus Morrison, but he's what is he? English level at best.
Best.
At best, Liam Williams was awful. I'm not quite sure. I'm hearing rumors that he had concussion in the lead up to the fight. Obviously,
Jesus.
it's a big fight. He's not going to say no to it. So I don't know, man. He hasn't. I've always said this. What have you done for me lately? And
Yeah.
Eubank hasn't. He's not fought for a year.
A year.
It's a long time. Whereas you look at the recent results of Liam Smith, and I was
Fowler,
impressed with
Vargas.
very impressed with Vargas. Even that fight in Russia, I thought he won it.
I thought he won it
He was
too.
away from home. I think he's looked really good under Joe McNally. It's like a new lease of life. No disrespect to Joe Gallagher, but I think McNally just seems to get on with him a bit better. So I can't wait for it. Good undercard as well.
Tremendous undercard. And then boxing is back, man. Next week, I know me and you are both planning on going. Yard Beterbiev, Lions in the camp. Can you imagine how Tunde will be if they win? Just that, I told you so with that voice. You can imagine. He'd go full blown road man.
Bro. It's weird. Like, I always try and stick to what I thought first. When this fight was first announced, I was like, Yard's going to get smashed and brutalized.
Yeah.
And as it's gone along, you start to give Yard a chance, don't you? Because you start to think, okay, well, Beterbiev's 38, and you watch his fights. Beterbiev does get hit. Marcus Brown hit him, Vosdik hit him. But I said this to someone. I think I said it on my channel. Beterbiev outmans you. Like, he makes you really question yourself because he will be in your face, blood on his face, and he's just going to keep on going. And you just have to give up. Like Vosdik, think about what he done to Vosdik. Vosdik was an unbeaten champion, and he's retired.
Yeah.
He's retired. He's done. He caused him problems. Joe Smith has disappeared. Vanished.
Marcus
Joe
Brown,
Smith gone. Yeah, he has a way of just breaking you. And I feel like, I know Yard's got the power, but I just feel like he's going to get to Yard and he's going to break him. Like, Yard's going to have his spots, but I think he'll get broken.
Do you think it's going to be a shock to Yard system? I tell you why. Because some would say, Kovalev boxed Yard. He never really sat down fully on the shots. But Beterbiev is going to be hitting him hard. And Yard, I don't think in his career has ever really been in there with someone. I don't think he ever has, actually, who's just going to go in and just try and hit him hard. Kovalev just jabbed him. But Beterbiev is going to try and punish him. How is he going to react to that?
Yeah. He fought Kovalev. I mean, he fought Kovalev in name only.
That wasn't the question.
That wasn't Kovalev. Like, I've watched Kovalev for years, and I mean, Kovalev that was running. Kovalev was the boogeyman for like 5 years of boxing. He didn't fight that Kovalev, and that's not Yard's fault. That's just truth and fact.
Father time.
Yeah, it is right. So Kovalev was trying to use the jab all night, and in the end, it worked. Right? I mean, he put down Yard with a jab, but this is the first time Yard's going to be fighting someone. Because Yard's intimidating, isn't he? He's very big, very muscular. The fighters are almost scared before they get in the ring. But Beterbiev's going to go straight at him. Like, Beterbiev is a machine. I was watching some things he was doing with a 20 kilo dumbbell bar. And he's just doing that. And I'm like, what is he doing? Like, he is a machine. So, nah, man. I just can't say. I want Yard to do well because obviously, it's from East London like myself. I know Tunde.
Stratford, isn't he, as well?
He's from Ilford, which is about 10 minutes away from Stratford. So he's so close to me. Obviously, the Peacock Gym as well was very, very close, but 5 minutes away in Canning Town. But nah, man, he's fighting the number one light heavyweight. I love Bivol, but he's fighting the number one light heavyweight, and that's not easy.
It's not easy, and I think with Tunde, I think they're kind of putting their eggs in one basket. That Father Time hopefully has caught up, and at that age, it can overnight. But I don't know. You're only as good as your last performance. He got rid of a good world champion in 2 rounds.
Dude, that's crazy. Dude, that's crazy. His last 3 fights, if I'm correct, have been Marcus Brown, Vosdik, and Joe Smith.
I think he fought that Adam Deanish guy in Russia.
Oh yes,
that was the
correct.
exception.
Yeah, you are correct. So look, he's running through serious names there. I mean,
I mean,
he's a world champion and a legit world champion for a reason. He's not taking the easy road. And I like Yard. I thought Yard done really good against Lyndon Arthur. I was there for that performance at the Copper Box. But this ain't no Lyndon Arthur, bro.
no,
This is. But look, you know what it is, yeah? We all know, I think everyone in the chats knows Yard can hit. So this could
has
be
been
one
down.
of those 3-round shootouts. This could be one of those 3-round anything happen. And Beterbiev has been knocked down. He can get hurt, but can Yard hurt him? I don't know.
Beterbiev is open when he goes for the attack, and Yard hits very hard, so you never know. And I think Yard, if he did hurt Beterbiev, unlike Callum Johnson, Yard will just go for it. Tunde will be telling him to go for
it. If Beterbiev's legs in any way, shape, or form become Bambi on ice, Yard is a finisher. Yeah. And I think he's learned from the emptying the tank thing against Kovalev. I think he'll trust his engine a bit more, and I think he'll go for it. Look, I like Yard, and I like Tunde as well. I just feel like, man, the problem for them is that they're in a division where the two champions are incredible. Yeah. Like, there's not two, but like Bivol and Beterbiev are just so insanely good. It's difficult for anyone to get any belts in that division because those two are there.
Yeah. And the contenders, you've your Joe Smiths, your Callum Smiths. It's like, it doesn't get any easier. Zurdo, it doesn't get any easier.
No, even just to get to a stage where you're fighting for world titles in that division ain't easy. So, look, well done to Yard for getting the opportunity. Hopefully he gets paid well. Look, I think Frank's done well to get the fight in London, so that helps as well. So, look, he's got there's opportunities there, but I'm not sure.
Shout out to Tony for the £1.80, lads. Can we trust Usyk to give us undisputed next? Resounding
Can we trust Usyk or can we trust Fury? I think Tony McNeil should word that again and say, lads, can we trust Fury to give us an undisputed next?
Usyk, I'm sure, is very feel about undisputed. Fury,
like Usyk's catalogue of fights should tell you that this guy will go anywhere and fight anyone. I think there's no fear that Usyk not wanting to fight people. I mean, he will fight anyone. 100%. And the confidence he has now from beating AJ. We all saw him on the apron when he was on the ring and Fury was screaming at him and he was just laughing like, dude, I've just come back from war. I've just come back from a war zone in Ukraine. What's this? Like, no reaction, nothing. And Fury is probably thinking, shit, I can't play mind games with this kid. Fury always likes to play mind games. He tries to be nice to you or just get under your skin. Like it might be the other way around for once. Usyk might win the mind game battle here because Usyk's so good.
Oh, man, I love Alexander Usyk. Look, I think Fury will win, but honestly, I mean, it's hard not to like him. He is a hard man and not to like.
You've got to love him. You've got to love this guy, man. Oh, is he not there? Shall I continue for him? Where he's gone, isn't he? Let me continue for him. We were talking about how has Gman's connection gone, and I'm still here. Boxing pound for pound Jack says, what war zone? His family is in Dubai. No, dude, his family in Dubai, he in Poland. He certainly went to Ukraine. I'm going to read this guy, but not mine. Joke man, T and Booth. Did T and Booth leave a super chat? I'm not quite sure. Andrew says, Al Heyman has got him. This is so weird. I'm doing G-Man's fucking Instagram, YouTube live. All right, guys, Punch Perfect, at a takeover. Thank God I'm used to doing this. Get your questions in. Thoughts on Liam Smith?
Sorry about that.
Versus I've been doing your live for you.
I know. Jamie says, "Are they take over?"
Yeah. You know, to be fair though, it was starting to jump a little bit. So maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I had a fit. StreamYard is like a misbehaving child. It just decides when it wants to be good.
You know what? I've got obviously I've got good internet, but I've got my internet back into the wall. So wired, not Wi-Fi. I don't muck around with Wi-Fi anymore. I've got a wired internet connection. You know, we don't play around here.
You don't play around in studios.
You know what? T and Booth, obviously not the T and Booth, but T and Booth, I think, has left a super chat and he's upset you've not read it.
Oh
You
man,
have to scroll all the way back up. I did see it.
if I missed it, apologies. And he wants his money back if you're not really. I've given Ty and Boot enough money. I'm entitled to. I've given him enough super chats over the years. I'm entitled to miss one.
You certainly are. You certainly are. So
He's
where
my
were we?
intro.
Were we Yard Baturbiev? Did we move on from that? I'm not quite sure.
No, we were Yard Beterbiev just slightly, but I'm not giving away my prediction. But I'm going to ask you what you think, in a percentage wise, the likelihood of an upset is. Do you
10%.
see temp really that low?
10%. That low. Yeah, that low. 100%. That low. Dude,
I was not expecting it to be that low.
yeah, no, 10%. 10%. I mean, look again. Like, come on, dude. Baturbiev, Yard's biggest win is Lyndon Arthur. That's his biggest win, and that was off the back of getting beat by Lyndon Arthur. Baturbiev is incredible. And you know the thing about Baturbiev is, and I think Chris Andre mentioned something about him the other day in one video. This guy can box if he needs to box, you know.
Oh yeah, he can.
Like the amateur record tells me that if he wants to box, he can box. But he just seems to want to have a fight. He might be a bit fearful of Yard's power and might just box him. But once he starts to land those big shots, nah, not for me. Not for me. He can beat Yard in every single department. I think Yard might have faster hands.
Faster hands, yeah.
Maybe faster
slightly.
hands. But nah. You don't the way in which I've watched that Vosdick beatdown again. Dude, Vosdick was incredible. Vosdick was from that same camp as Usyk and Loma.
Yeah.
So very, like incredible. The way in which he beat him down. And then the Marcus Brown one, where Marcus Brown's having some success and he just
he cuts him like the big cut on his head, and he keeps on going.
Just keeps on going, blood streaming down his face. Joe Smith's a bigger puncher than Yard. Joe Smith tried to have a shootout with him and just got shot down.
Didn't work.
Nah, not for me. You know what? I've gone down 7.5%. 7.5%. 7.5%.
But I'm still looking forward to it because I can see it being an entertaining fight. Imagine Yard was to pull it off, though. It would revolutionize the light heavyweight division in the UK. It would set a light overnight. Imagine if he did win. It would just...
Bro.
My head would explode. I'd be at ringside saying, like, someone pinch me.
My voice would go. Look, there's a like, do I want Yard to win? Yeah. I want Yard to win. I want the champions over here. You know, I'm a bit patriotic in that sense. And then it would give us the Boatsi fight. Boatsi would fight him. Callum Smith is mandatory. Callum Smith would then fight Yard. So we'd have some good, really good scraps.
Great domestic
really
scraps.
Good, between all those three guys and others coming up as well. Let's not forget the Dan Aziz of the world and all that. But I just can't. You know, we like to do this, don't we? So I remember when Loma fought Luke Campbell, and I was like, Luke's got a chance. He ain't got a chance. I said, I'm wrong. Luke done okay. I was like, sometimes these guys that come over are just a bit too good. Too good. You can't go. This is the problem with Yard and Tunde. Like, you can't go from D level to C level to A level. You've got to have a couple of. There's got to be about 5 or 6 B level fights, and they've not done that with Yard. They've just, like an easy fight. No, let's go for the champion. Like, where's the building? Where's the building blocks? I don't understand it.
Where's the learning?
Like,
I don't in a way, like someone would say, right? It's weird. It's a catch-22. Yard, in terms of managing, in terms of matchmaking, terrible. But in terms of money making, I mean, Yard, if he'd have went and fought a traditional route, would he have made as much money as he has?
No.
It's a catch-22.
No. And he probably wouldn't have, like, he's got the Adidas sponsor.
Yeah.
I think he's got a couple of other sponsors behind him as well. He's made a lot of money. Like what was it? I think we were led to believe it was around 3.5 million for the Kovalev fight.
Yeah, 3.5 million, 4 million.
I don't know what this is. Yeah, I don't know what this might not be the same. But look, he's getting paid well. I just wish that we saw him in against more strong C, B level guys. And that's why I always said I wanted to see Yard Boatsi, just because the winner of that goes, and you can, and the winner of that you trust can go to world level and do some business.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You can trust it. Yeah, I can understand why they didn't make it, but they should have made Yard Boatsi. They should have. That'd have been a massive fight. And the loser still goes on.
Oh
It would have
yeah,
been
it's
like
not the
old
end of the
school
world.
George Groves, James DeGale. The loser still goes on.
Both became world champions. The
There
loser
you go.
became world champion first. Funny enough.
There you go. How crazy is that when you think
Yeah.
about it? See? But there's a bit of a, I don't know. I just feel like it's a bit too much for Yard. But
Speaking about,
I would love him to do it.
I would. I'd love just to see it, just to be say I was there. You know, it's one of those moments where you could be like, I was there. I was just watching on TV. I was there.
Yes, sir.
But speaking of light heavy, speaking of Boatsi, any news on Boatsi or him coming back at all? Because it's been crazy. It's been nearly a year now.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to do the Bivol fight. There's no two ways about it. Yeah, they're definitely trying to do that one. Look, Canelo's going to fight John Ryder. We know that, right? I think that one's going to be in the Middle East. So Bivol would have gone the Canelo route. So Bivol literally is sitting there waiting. He can't go to Beterbiev undisputed. He can't go Canelo. I think they're going to make Boatsi Bivol. I think they're going to do that. And I think
in
they
the
might
UK?
go over here. I hope so. But Bivol done decent numbers out in Abu Dhabi. That was a good card, by the way. When he
that was a great card.
Ramirez, really, probably one of the best cards of the year. When you think about it, when you think of the card in your head, it was actually a pretty good, solid card. So yeah, I think they're going to go that route, and I don't mind that route. Boatsi's a good fighter. Bivol's a good fighter. You'd make Bivol a favorite, but Boatsi can cause him some problems. Boatsi's he's tough and he's gritty and he's solid. Just that Bivol's so good.
He's so good, but the inactivity for Boatsi is just. And Bivol is like, do you know what's funny, right? He beat Gilberto Ramirez, and this is scary, and Canelo. I don't think he even got out of third gear.
Mate.
Really? That's scary. He's got more gears to go through. Like, and he's doing that to world level. Amazing fighters.
Mate, his movement on his toes. Like, he's constantly on his toes and he's in and out. He exits with a hook all the time. He's like a left hook exit all the time. And you're watching it. I sound like Chris Andre there saying that. But you're watching it and you're watching it and you're in awe of it. You're watching it thinking, this is incredible. I'm watching him thinking, you are fabulous. Honestly, you're fabulous. I love Bivol. Obviously, he gave me his jacket. Is his jacket in here?
Oh man, maybe they're seeing now all that stuff. The Bivol jacket.
Oh mate, I haven't put it up. I think it might be in here, but I haven't put it up. But I think Bivol's an incredible, exceptional boxer, and I think he'll do Canelo at 168 as well. But
so do I.
Look, if you're Boatsi though, look, you're at the age. What's Boatsi? He must be in his 30s now. Do it. Have that world title.
32 or so. 31, 32, haven't you? Like,
there you go. So what are you waiting for?
Around that.
I mean, who would you rather fight, Bivol or Beterbiev? If I'm him, I'm saying, give me Bivol. Like, Bivol might beat me, but I'm not getting hurt. Give me Bivol.
He's not going to. With Bivol, it's like, he'll outbox me, but Beterbiev will fucking hurt me.
Yeah, Beterbiev wants to hurt me. Beterbiev wants to hurt me. That, remember in the Yard press conference where he banged the table with his hands? And I'm like, Jesus. Yeah, whereas Bivol will smile and give you a cuddle after the fight. Beterbiev wants to inflict pain. So yeah, if Boatsi is getting a Bivol fight, world title shot, he's done well.
He's done well. Mate, we've gone for over an hour. We've 193 in the building. By the way, if you haven't already, smash the like button. 193 are using the building, trying to get this over to 10K. I'm going to probably call it there, man. So I wanted to get the hour in. We got the hour in. We pretty much got our subjects done. Because I wanted to know your thoughts on the main ones. And obviously me and you, well, we're both doing separate watch-alongs, but we're both watching along to Liam Smith tomorrow. And probably both do a Sunday live as well, maybe.
Yeah. I'm going to try my hardest this week because I finished Talk Sport at like 6 and I'll quickly get to the studio. But we want to stay busy this year. Mm-hmm. Yourself and again the others that do the YouTubes, the Chris Andres, the Punch Perfects. I think the most important thing for all of us is just give as much content as possible. Like there's so many fights happening. Like you have no reason not to do 1-2 videos a day. And I'm being serious. Like there's so much to be speaking about. Like we've not even spoke about Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis.
Again,
you know what I mean?
That's a fight that is just
that could be the biggest fight this year
as well. Could go in. Could have a great April 15th over here. We could have Joy Zhang follow on by that to be an all-nighter, one of them.
Honestly, if it all plays out, and look, I don't know if it will, but the back end of March, you're getting Josh Taylor, Jack Cattrall. And then AJ's supposed to be fighting April. So you're getting April, AJ. You're getting White, April. You're getting Fury, Usyk, potentially April. Like,
May.
I don't know how you're getting all these. What I don't want is clashes.
Yeah.
Where they clash. And I feel like there's going to be a couple of clashes coming somewhere. Dude, we've not even spoken about Lee Wood, bloody Mauricio Lara.
Bloodbath. That's what we're going to call that fight. We were going to call that
man.
fight bloodbath. That's what it will be.
Bloodbath. Like, chins will be broken. Noses are going to be out of place. Dude, but they're not in a arena in terms of atmospheres. Oh, God.
Do you think Josh Warren will be watching that fight, praying to anyone, please let Lee Wood win? I don't want to fight Lara again.
Yeah, he probably won't admit it because obviously Josh is. But I think Josh, more so, I think Josh thinks he could do Lee Wood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where obviously you've got the kind of scars of having dealt with Mauricio Lara. So in your head, you're thinking Lee Wood's 34. He's been in some tough fights. The Conlan fight was difficult. Maybe I can catch him. These Mexicans, avoid them.
Just keep coming.
Avoid them. Avoid them. Who the fuck knew Luis Alberto Lopez? And all of a sudden, he's taking Josh's belt. Like, it's just crazy.
That was a crazy night. I feared for your safety there. England lost in the World Cup and Josh Warrington lost as well. I was saying in my video, I was like, if I was at it, I'd be getting out of there pretty quick.
You know how crazy it was? Let me quickly tell before we go. So, England, we're watching England, and Marcus Rashford has that free kick in the last second. And they're saying to me, Ade, you're going live in 10 seconds, regardless of what happens with the mark. So I'm literally watching Rashford, and I can hear the director in my ear said, 5, 4, 3. Rashford misses 2-1. Ade live. Boom. I'm like, wow. That was pressure, but that was pressure. But you get through them. I was like, what the fuck is this? You get through it. You get through it. It's all fun and games, man. I'm just living the life. It's just fun. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what to make of all this journey.
It's not just what we're doing; it's the journey to it. You know, I mean, like I'm probably still a bit away on where I want to be in my journey, but I'm loving the journey nonetheless. I'm loving doing this. I'm loving going to events. It's just amazing.
Dude, I honestly like you know, it's weird, like especially those big American events. I'm not joking. Like everyone goes out either the Friday night or after the fights on a Saturday. The Friday night, I'm very, very nervous, so I don't go out. But after the event on a Saturday, I honestly just go home, go to the hotel, and I don't tear up or anything, but I'm very like, this is incredible. Like I still can't. It still doesn't make sense to me. Like Ade, can you close the show, please, for Golovkin Canelo? And I'm like, what? You know, you're like, what do you mean? Like, I just find it crazy. Ade, we need you to do a backstage interview with Golovkin. I'm like, eh? So I go back to the hotel and I'm exhausted and I'm just like, how the fuck have we
got
and
there?
You almost feel like they're gonna find out you're not real. I know that sounds stupid. You're like, you feel like it's gonna be over. If that makes any sense. Like this isn't real. Man. This isn't real. But you just keep on going. Like they're already talking to us about the Ryan Garcia Javante fight, and it's just like, huh? Like what? Like all the plans. So that fight's happening, by the way. But you hear all the plans, and you're like, this is crazy. This is crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, it's crazy to think that you started with Ryan in your living room. I started with a crappy mic and a bit of little editing. And you're on the zone. I get to go to these events, and it's like, what's next? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, you know what it is? Yeah, without even thinking what next, just enjoy it. Enjoy this. Enjoy like nearly 200 people in the chat. You know, enjoy the
nearly 10K lads. Come on, 10K. Subscribe, 10K lads. Get your boy
all the live
10K.
watch-alongs, all the and then obviously you get a little monetization money, which helps, right? It helps in terms of cameras.
I do it for free.
I use it to buy all my cameras, my mics. All helps. It all helps. Like the money's secondary, but it helps to keep the channel going with improving the quality of everything.
That's exactly it. And you'll see I invested in a few new stands, so you'll see them next week. And there you look. There you know what. But they're more for interviewing rather than recording. So I'm dying to break them out next week, hopefully.
It's weird. Everyone wants to see the rest of because with my studio, you only see really this angle, don't you?
Yeah.
No one really sees what's over there and what's over there. But yeah, I'm actually moving studios. So it's not. I'm actually not. I'll tell everyone here now first. Actually, I'm not moving studio. I'm moving house, and there's a room that I feel like is adequate, which is a room like this in the apartment. Sorry, that I can put the studio in.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it will just be a case of I can do more videos because I can just quickly film. Whereas this is about a 20-minute walk from my house, and sometimes I just get lazy and I don't do it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not moving studio. I'm just moving house, and then I'm going to have this in the house.
Pretty much what I'm planning on doing when I built mine. It's a case of the guest room for the time being is going to be a little studio / kind of. I was thinking kind of like bit like you, table, laptop, camera,
Yeah,
lights.
it's so easy. The table is so easy, and the laptop's so easy because I just read off. Like I just read what people are saying. It's just so much easier to have a laptop in front of them. It's weird now. I can't imagine not doing it. I remember before I used to just talk. I'm like, how the fuck did I do that
Yeah.
without having the laptop in front of me? It almost doesn't even seem to make sense. Before we wrap, very quickly, will Anthony Joshua become a world champion again?
Do you want my opinion or the chat's
Yes,
opinion?
your opinion.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
3-time champion, I believe it. And
Ooh.
look, listen, right? Listen, I've said this before, right? I've said it before. Joshua, I'll be frank, I've never really been the biggest fan. I like watching him, but I think he will. I think he will.
Okay. All right, cool. If I was to say that, then obviously Ade's a fucking AJ
Yeah.
fanboy. I can't say it. I can't say it. But if you're saying it, then I don't know. I don't know.
The comments will come in again because I always see Gman's clearly under his own payroll. I'm not, but wait and see. That'd be like
You know who I
confirmed.
thought was, who I thought was on the Eddie payroll? This guy called Everything Boxing on Twitter, who just seems very pro Matchroom.
Yeah.
And he tweets things like, I'm thinking, how the fuck did you know that? I didn't even know that. And I'm on like a Matchroom, like, WhatsApp group with some people. I'm like, how do you know this stuff? But yeah, he's interesting. He's interesting. I think it's Everything Boxing or something.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Is it you?
Yeah.
Is it you, G-Man?
It's not
Is it
me.
you?
It's not me. It's not me. I don't find out that much stuff.
Okay.
I go to him for a lot of my stuff as well because
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll take it.
He surprises me. He seems to know a lot, and I'm like, okay, you know quite a lot. Yeah, but look, this has been fun. We should try and do one with Chris and Jamie as well sometime.
Love
Let's
that.
see what we can do. But Chris is gonna have to dumb down himself a little bit because we're not having all that fucking knowledge trying to embarrass us. All right, we'll do it. But
The
cool.
technical analysis of everything.
Yeah, mate. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Ade's hat to head ratio.
Yeah, Ade, yeah, his hat was about 1 millimeter off him.
No, mate. Honestly, like I appreciate everyone in the chat, mate. As always, whenever we do these, we always go on long because for some reason, me and you can just chat. We just have it. We just chat. So I appreciate you coming on and joining me. And do you want to since you closed the zone? Any closing thoughts?
No, you know what? I just feel like this year is going to be a really good year for boxing.
Mm-hmm.
We always say that, but with what's happened so far, the fights that are getting announced, and I know we like to moan about the sport, and I do a lot. I think we're going to get everything we want to see apart from Spence Crawford. I think everything else we get to see. So yeah,
don't say that. I want Spence Crawford.
You might need to block this Boxer 22. You get the only troll we've had so far in this chat.
There you go.
There you go. Blink. All right.
There you
cool.
go.
Nice. All right. Nice.
Lads,
peace and love, brother.
Peace and love. All the best. Everyone in the chat. Thank you. Thanks, mate. Appreciate